I leaned against the kitchen counter, watching Emily stir her coffee. The morning sunlight hit her hair just right, making it glow. "You're quiet today," she said, looking at me with that half-smile I could never resist. "Just thinking," I replied, trying to sound casual. "About work? And you, obviously." She laughed softly. "Flatterer. You always know what to say." Her hand brushed mine, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. I should have known perfection never lasts. Later that afternoon, I was in the living room when I heard voices, low, urgent. I froze. It was Emily, whispering. "And Michael." My heart tightened. "You can't keep protecting him," Michael's voice hissed. "He won't understand if we just—" "Michael, stop," Emily said sharply. "I know what I'm doing. Just trust me." I pressed my ear to the door, disbelief washing over me. Protecting him? Who was she protecting from me? My wife? My brother-in-law? I wanted to knock, to scream, but I couldn't move. I sat down, tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe a misunderstanding. But their voices felt like knives slicing through my chest. That evening, I brought it up at dinner. "Emily, can we talk?" My voice was steadier than I felt. "About what?" she asked, not looking up from her plate. "About you and Michael earlier." I heard you." She tensed. "I don't know what you're talking about." I leaned forward. "Emily, don't lie to me. I know something is going on. Are you choosing him over me?" Her fork paused midair. I'm trying to do what's best for everyone," she said softly. "Everyone? What about us? What about what we promised each other?" I clenched my fists. "You're supposed to be my partner, Emily, not his." She looked down, and for a second, I saw hesitation. But then she said, almost coldly, "Michael needs me right now. I can't just ignore him. You'll understand someday." I swallowed hard. Understanding? I didn't want to understand. I wanted the woman I married to stand with me, not side with the person undermining our life. "Emily, please. I need you here with me. Not him." She shook her head. "I can't. I'm sorry." The words hit me like a fist. She chose him. My chest felt tight, my stomach dropped. Every shared laugh, every whispered promise suddenly felt hollow. Later, I wandered through our apartment, replaying her words in my mind. Her choice had been made, and it wasn't me. I thought about the nights we spent talking about dreams, about the future. Was it all a lie? I picked up a photo from a shelf. Us at the beach, smiling. I used to feel comfort looking at it. Now it made my heart ache. "I trusted you," I whispered to the empty room. "I gave you everything. And yet, I realized something. Betrayal leaves a mark, but it also sparks something else. Anger, clarity, resolve." Emily sat on the couch, her hands folded in her lap. She didn't reach for me. She didn't even glance my way. I knew then that our life had shifted, that the perfect world I thought we had was gone. I looked at her and said quietly, but with more steel than I felt, "You made your choice, Emily. And I'm done waiting for someone who can't stand by me." Her eyes flickered, but she said nothing. Michael's shadow lingered in the room, even though he wasn't there. And I felt the first spark of a fire I didn't yet understand, one that would change everything. I found Emily in the living room, scrolling through her phone, pretending everything was normal. I took a deep breath. "We need to talk," I said, my voice tighter than I wanted. She looked up calm, almost too calm. "About what?" "Don't play dumb, Emily. I know about you and Michael. About the things you've been hiding." Her eyebrows rose. "Hiding? I'm not hiding anything." I stepped closer. "Really? Because it sure feels like you've been protecting him over me. Over us." She sighed, leaning back on the couch. "I told you, I'm just trying to help him. He needs me right now. Help him? Or manipulate me?" My voice shook. Every time I turn around, there's some conversation I'm not supposed to hear. Some plan you two are making that leaves me out. Emily's lips pressed into a thin line. "I can't just ignore my brother. You have to understand that." "Understand? I'm supposed to understand betrayal." I gritted my teeth. "I trusted you. I thought we were a team." She looked away. I don't know how to explain it." "Then stop lying," I snapped. "Stop pretending it's about him needing you. It's about you choosing him over me. Admit it." She stayed silent. My chest tightened with every passing second. The silence was worse than words. That's when my phone buzzed. It was James. "Are you okay? You sounded upset yesterday." I stared at the message, feeling a tiny anchor in the storm. I typed back quickly. Not really. Need to talk later. Emily noticed. James? Who's that? My friend, I said. Someone who actually listens. She shook her head. You can't expect everyone to be on your side. Not even your friends. Maybe not, I said, my voice quiet but cutting. But at least they don't lie to me. Emily's eyes flashed, a mix of guilt and frustration. It's not that simple. You don't see the pressures, the things I have to juggle. You think I choose him over you, but it's not like that. It feels like that. I yelled. Every choice, every word, every secret. It's him first. And me? I'm the fool who believed in us. Her hands trembled slightly. I'm trying. I swear I'm trying to make it right. I laughed bitterly. Trying? You've been trying for months to make him the center of our lives. And me? I'm just supposed to stand here and accept it. She looked down, voice small. I didn't mean for it to hurt you. I thought. You thought what? That I wouldn't notice? That I'd never realize I was being edged out of my own life. My hands were shaking. Do you have any idea what that feels like? Emily stayed silent. I could see her struggling. Maybe she wanted to argue, to defend herself, but I wasn't giving her room. I can't do this anymore, I said, trying to control my voice. I can't trust you, and I can't trust him either. I've been blind, Emily. Blind to the way he's been poisoning everything between us. Her lips parted. Poisoning? You're imagining things. No, I'm seeing clearly now, I said, stepping back. Every little manipulation, every seed of doubt he planted in your mind, it all makes sense. The whispers, the excuses, the way you start siding with him when I bring up anything important. I see it. Emily's eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw fear or maybe regret. I didn't think. You didn't think? I snapped. You never did. And now, I realize I'm alone. Completely. I grabbed my jacket. I need some air. I need to figure out how to deal with this. Because I can't stay in a life where trust doesn't exist. She called after me. Please don't leave like this. I paused at the door, staring at her. I'm not leaving because I don't love you. I'm leaving because I can't love someone I can't trust. And I can't be a fool for either of you anymore. Outside, I inhaled the cold air, letting it hit my face. Betrayal wasn't just a word anymore. It was a living, breathing thing twisting inside me. I thought about James, about someone who would actually listen, about what I needed to do to protect myself. I clenched my fists. I wouldn't let this break me entirely. But right now, I was utterly, painfully alone. I stare at my reflection in the mirror that night, the lines on my face sharper than I remembered. Enough, I muttered. I can't keep being the fool. The next morning, I found Emily in the kitchen, casually sipping her coffee as if nothing had changed. Morning, she said, smiling faintly. Morning, I replied, keeping my voice steady. You're quiet again, she said, raising an eyebrow. I ignored her. Emily, we need to be realistic. Things can't go back to how they were. Not with Michael in the picture. Her smile faltered. Michael isn't in the picture. You're overreacting. I leaned against the counter, trying to control the rising anger. Overreacting? You mean the choices you keep making for him? At my expense? Is that overreacting? She looked down, fiddling with her cup. I'm trying to help my brother. Why can't you see that? Because helping him doesn't mean destroying me in the process, I said sharply. I'm done feeling powerless, Emily. She froze, then whispered, What do you mean? I mean, I'm done waiting for you to realize I exist, I said, walking out of the kitchen. I have to take control of my own life. Later that day, at work, I ran into Sarah. She noticed the tension immediately. You okay? She asked, concern in her eyes. Not really, I admitted. I'm dealing with some personal stuff. Sarah nodded slowly. Want to talk? I don't know if talking helps, I said, rubbing my temples. But I need advice. I feel trapped. Trapped how? She pressed. I sighed. I trusted someone completely. Thought they'd stand with me. Turns out, I can't trust them, or even the people around them. I feel like my life is being controlled by everyone except me. Her gaze softened. Sounds like you need to reclaim your space. Not by fighting them, but by strengthening yourself. I blinked. Strengthen myself? How? Start small, she said. Invest in yourself. Skills, relationships, respect at work. Build influence quietly. Show them, show yourself, that you don't need validation from those who betrayed you. Her words hit me like a spark. I felt the first flicker of hope in days. You think I can do that? I know you can, she said firmly. You've got the drive. You just need direction. Over the next few days, I began distancing myself from Emily and Michael. I stopped answering every call and text immediately. I focused on my work, volunteering for projects that required leadership and initiative. My colleagues started noticing. You handled that really well, one said. I smiled, letting the praise sink in. One evening, I met James for coffee. You seem different, he said, scanning me. I am, I replied. I'm done letting people push me around. I'm rebuilding, quietly but surely. James nodded. I've got your back, man. Always. Even small victories made a difference. Completing a challenging project at work, getting positive feedback, reconnecting with friends who respected me. They all chipped away at the feeling of powerlessness. One night, I bumped into Sarah again after work. You're really changing, she said. I see in the way you carry yourself. I feel it too, I admitted. It's not just about Emily or Michael. It's about me. My dignity. My life. Exactly, she said. And remember, this isn't revenge. This is reclaiming your control. I looked at her grateful. Thanks, Sarah. I don't think I could do this alone. You're not alone, she said, smiling faintly. But you have to take the steps, one by one. Walking home that night, I felt a quiet determination building. No more waiting. No more hoping Emily would see reason. No more letting Michael manipulate everything. I would rebuild my life, my influence, my respect, and I would do it on my own terms. I clenched my fists in the cool night air. This is the turning point, I whispered. I'm not powerless anymore. I'm taking back my life, piece by piece. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like the man I used to be and the man I could become. I watched Emily from across the room, pretending to be absorbed in my phone. Michael leaned close to her, whispering something that made her laugh. I felt a pang, but I swallowed it, forcing myself to stay calm. Lucas, Michael's friend, was lounging nearby, smirking as if he owned the place. You're really lucky she's your sister, he said to Michael. Most guys wouldn't tolerate all this. Michael grinned. Yeah, some guys don't understand family priorities. I set my jaw, keeping my voice neutral. Family priorities, huh? Funny how some people think their priorities justify everything they do. Emily glanced at me, startled. What do you mean? I smiled faintly, a little coldly. Oh, nothing. Just noticing how easy it is for some people to manipulate situations without anyone noticing. Lucas laughed. Careful, buddy. You're treading dangerous waters. I leaned back, letting the words hang. Dangerous? Maybe. Or maybe it's time someone points out hypocrisy when they see it. Emily's eyes narrowed. Are you accusing Michael? I shrugged casually. I'm saying actions have consequences. Words mean something. Pretending everything is fine doesn't make it fine. Michael's grin faltered slightly. You're overthinking this. Am I? I asked, voice calm but sharp. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like decisions made in selfishness always come back to bite you. Lucas snorted. Oh, we've heard this speech before. I ignored him, focusing on Emily. You keep choosing him, Emily. Always him. And yet you wonder why things keep falling apart. Emily shifted uncomfortably. I'm doing what I think is right. Right for whom? I asked softly. Because it doesn't feel like me. Or us. Michael leaned forward. Careful, man. You sound bitter. I smiled faintly, letting a hint of calculation show. Maybe bitter is what keeps me awake at night. Or maybe it's clarity. I see things now, the lies, the manipulations, the little games that you all think no one notices. Lucas raised an eyebrow. And what exactly are you planning to do about it? I shrugged again, innocently. Nothing yet. But sometimes the smallest nudge can set off a chain reaction. Ever heard of karma? Emily looked at me, alarm flashing in her eyes. Stop it. You're imagining things. No, I'm not. I said, voice quieter now, almost intimate. I'm noticing patterns, weaknesses, poor choices that make you all look foolish. And I have to admit, I paused, letting the tension build. Watching those patterns unfold is strangely satisfying. Michael frowned. You're dangerous when you talk like that. I leaned forward slightly. I'm not dangerous. I'm aware. And awareness is powerful, especially when others underestimate you. Emily's hands twisted in her lap. This isn't you. You're letting anger guide you. Maybe, I admitted. Maybe I'm angry. But maybe anger is what opens your eyes to truth. I don't want to lose myself, but I also don't want to be trampled by lies anymore. I could see Lucas glancing nervously at Michael, sensing the shift. Emily's face was pale. Michael's confidence wavered. Later that evening, I overheard a conversation between Michael and Lucas. I think he's planning something, Lucas said. Michael laughed nervously. He's all talk. Can't be serious. I smiled quietly to myself. Small beginnings, I thought. The first cracks are forming. As I walked back to my apartment that night, I felt a strange mixture of guilt and satisfaction. I didn't want to become someone cruel, but I also knew that seeds of justice needed planting, and someone had to water them. I replayed the conversations in my mind, analyzing every slip, every laugh, every careless word. Each one was ammunition, small but powerful. And I realized this was only the beginning. I watched from across the office as Michael's smug grin disappeared. The client meeting he'd been so confident about had turned into a disaster. Every poorly thought-out excuse, every arrogant comment, everything he thought would impress, fell apart. I didn't interfere directly, just nudged information his way subtly, letting the truth surface at the right time. I felt a twist of satisfaction, but it was bitter. Is this right? I whispered to myself. Sarah appeared beside me, eyes following the chaos. You did that. I shrugged, trying to mask the mix of triumph and guilt. I didn't do much. Just let things unfold. Unfold? She asked, raising an eyebrow. That looked intentional. Maybe it was, I admitted, but Michael's arrogance, it always backfires. I just accelerated the process. Emily stormed into the office shortly after, face flushed, voice trembling. Michael, how could you? What were you thinking? He stammered, glancing at me once before turning back to her. I thought I had it covered. You thought? Emily shouted. We trusted you, and now everyone sees what a mess this is. I stayed quiet, watching her realize the consequences of siding with him, watching the shock and frustration hit them both. My chest tightened, not with victory alone, but with something heavier. Sarah nudged my arm. You look exhausted. You okay? I'm fine. I lied, shaking my head. It's just strange. Watching it happen doesn't feel like relief. It feels heavy. I get it, she said softly. It's not easy seeing people you hate suffer, even when they deserve it. I ran a hand through my hair. Emily, she's going to have to face this too. And I don't know if I'm ready for her anger or her guilt. Part of me enjoys the justice, but another part feels like I've lost something in the process. Sarah's expression softened. You're not losing yourself. You're just learning who you can trust and who you can't. Later, I met Clara outside the building. She had watched the confrontation from across the street. I didn't expect it to go down like that, she said quietly. It was intense. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile. Intense is one word for it. You look drained, she added. Are you holding up? I don't know, I admitted, leaning against the wall. It's satisfying seeing Michael stumble, but it also feels hollow. Emily, she's going to blame me in some way, even if it's not fair. And I can't stop thinking about it. Clara's eyes met mine. You're human. You can't block all of it out. But don't let it consume you. You've got support. You've got friends who see the truth. I nodded, grateful. Thanks, Clara. I needed that reminder. When I got home, Emily was waiting, arms crossed. So this is what you wanted, huh? She said, voice sharp. To see him humiliated? You've been plotting against us. I'm not plotting, I said calmly. I'm not the one making choices that backfire. I just let the truth show itself. She shook her head, eyes glistening. You always have to be right. You always think you're better than everyone else. I felt a flash of anger, but also exhaustion. I'm not trying to be better. I just can't let myself be destroyed by lies and manipulation anymore. I can't live in that world. Emily looked away, and I realized she understood, even if she didn't want to admit it. This isn't just about Michael, I said softly. It's about me, reclaiming my life, piece by piece. The silence hung between us. I felt the weight of months of betrayal, anger, and heartbreak pressing down. My body ached. My mind spun with conflicting emotions. Later, I called Sarah. "I need to talk," I said quietly. "Of course," she replied. "I'm here. What's on your mind?" "It's complicated," I said. "I feel guilty for what happened to Michael. I feel relieved. I feel angry at Emily, and I feel empty. I don't know how to reconcile it all." "You don't have to reconcile it all at once," she said calmly. "Take it step by step. You're allowed to feel everything. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human." I let out a long breath, feeling some tension leave my chest. "Thanks, Sarah. I needed that." "I know," she said softly. "And remember, you're not alone. Even when they betrayed you, you've got people who believe in you." I ended the call and sat quietly, letting the mixture of satisfaction and guilt settle. Betrayal changes people. Revenge tastes sweet, but leaves a bitter aftertaste. And as I stared at the ceiling, I realized that moving on wasn't going to be simple, but at least I had started. I stood in the doorway, my hands clenched at my sides, watching Emily and Michael laughing as if nothing had happened. That laugh had been so familiar, once comforting. Now it felt like a taunt. "Emily," I said, my voice sharp enough to cut through the room. They both turned abruptly. Michael's smile faltered, and Emily's eyes widened. "What are you doing here?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "I came to talk," I said, stepping inside. "And I mean really talk. No lies, no games." Michael crossed his arms. "Oh, so this is serious now? I didn't realize you had the guts." "I always had the guts," I said, voice low and steady. "I just waited until I was done being blind." Emily's lips pressed together. I don't know what you're talking about." I shook my head slowly. "Don't lie to me, Emily. Don't lie to yourself either. Every choice, every secret, every manipulation, it all led here. You chose him over me, over us. And now, it's time to face the consequences." Michael laughed nervously. "Consequences? You're acting like some kind of hero." "I'm not a hero," I said, stepping closer. "I'm just done being the fool." Emily's voice cracked. I did what I thought was best." "You don't understand. Michael needed me." "Needed you?" I echoed, my chest tightening. "Do you know how that sounds? It sounds like excuses for betrayal. It sounds like the person you supposedly loved meant nothing." Her eyes flickered, guilt and fear mingling. "I didn't mean to." "You didn't mean to?" I said, my voice rising. "Do you have any idea how that feels? To be undermined by the person you trusted most?" Michael tried to interject. "Listen, it's not fair." "Not fair," I interrupted. "Not fair? You spent months twisting things, poisoning her mind, making me question myself. You think it's fair? Do you realize how much I lost?" Emily started shaking. "You don't understand the pressure." "The pressure?" I repeated, my voice icy. "You've been hiding behind him, hiding behind your excuses, pretending loyalty to family is more important than loyalty to me. And now everyone sees it. Everyone knows the truth." Michael's face went pale. "Everyone sees what?" I smiled faintly, the cold satisfaction laced with lingering pain. "You think your arrogance and lies went unnoticed. But they didn't. Lucas, your so-called friend, tried to cover for you. He failed. Your reputation is cracking. And Emily, you're losing credibility with everyone around you because of the choices you made." Emily's hand flew to her mouth. "No, that's not. Isn't," I said. "I've seen your texts, your whispers, your manipulation. I've seen the way you turn friends and family against me subtly, convince them to take sides. And I waited quietly while you believed you had the upper hand." Michael swallowed hard. How did you?" "Notice patterns," I said simply. "Recognize weaknesses. Understand people. It's not magic. It's paying attention. And now everything you counted on is slipping." Emily's shoulders slumped. "I didn't think it would get this far." "You didn't think at all," I said. "You only acted for yourself and him. And now it's all unraveling." I could feel the tension in the room, thick enough to choke on. Friends and family who had been called to witness this confrontation were watching silently. Some faces were shocked, some sympathetic. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of disbelief. Michael tried again. "You think you're in control? You don't even know what's coming next. Oh, I know exactly what's coming next, I said. The consequences of arrogance, of betrayal, of thinking you could manipulate me and get away with it. And it's already begun. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I never wanted. Sorry doesn't undo months of lies, I said. And Michael, sorry doesn't erase manipulation. But maybe, just maybe, it teaches you something you refused to learn before. I stepped back, letting my words settle. The weight of betrayal had shifted. Their laughter was gone, replaced by a silence that hummed with realization. I felt a pang of sadness. This wasn't the victory I wanted. Not fully. I still carried the pain of being betrayed by the person I loved most. But I stayed composed. I couldn't let them see my heart break again. Not now. Not after everything. Consider this a turning point, I said softly, my voice carrying through the room. The world is changing around you. And I'm still standing. They didn't respond. They couldn't. Everything they thought they controlled was crumbling. And I, finally, had reclaimed my power. I sat at my favorite cafe, staring at the steam curling from my coffee cup. For the first time in months, I felt calm. Not numb. Not furious. Calm. The chaos of Emily and Michael's manipulations had passed, and what remained was quiet, like the air after a storm. James slid into the seat across from me, a grin on his face. You look different. Lighter, somehow. I feel different, I admitted, running a hand over my face. It's been a long road, but I think I'm finally me again. Me again? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Who was you before? I smiled faintly. Naive. Trusting too easily. Believing people would always act fairly. I've learned a lot about human nature since then. James leaned back, eyes serious. And Emily? Michael? Are you over it? I paused, letting the memory of their downfall pass through my mind. The humiliation, the exposure, the moments where I realized I was no longer at their mercy. Over it, I repeated. Not fully. Part of me will always feel the sting of betrayal. But I've stopped letting it define me. I'm no longer the man they could manipulate. I'm in control now. My choices, my emotions, my life. James nodded slowly. I can see that. You walk differently, talk differently. You don't flinch at their names anymore. I don't, I said firmly. And I won't. I've spent too long letting their actions control my mind. I've learned that control comes from within. I decide how I respond, what I allow, who I let in. Sarah joined us a few minutes later, sliding into the booth beside me. I had to see for myself, she said with a smile. You look stronger. Not just physically, but everything about you. Thanks, Sarah, I said. I couldn't have gotten here without you. Your guidance, your advice, it helped me see that strength doesn't come from revenge alone. It comes from knowing your worth and standing by it. Sarah nodded. Exactly. Revenge can satisfy temporarily, but real power is emotional. You've built that. I leaned back, sipping my coffee slowly. It wasn't easy. There were days I wanted to give up, days I questioned if I'd ever feel normal again. But I realized that normal isn't living in someone else's shadow. Normal is reclaiming yourself, flaws and all. James chuckled. I remember when you used to let Emily's words twist your stomach into knots. Now, you sit here like a man who's been through fire and came out clean on the other side. Clean? I asked, a wry smile forming. Not entirely. I'm scarred, James. I'll always carry pieces of what they did to me. But the difference is, I've healed enough to use those scars as armor instead of shackles. Sarah reached out, placing a hand on mine. You've changed, but you're still human. You still feel. That's what makes this transformation real. Not turning cold, but standing tall while feeling everything and letting it shape you, not break you. I nodded, swallowing. I want to help others, too. People who've been blindsided, betrayed, or manipulated. I don't want them to feel powerless. I've learned that strength can be taught and trust rebuilt, but only if you start with yourself. James smiled, clinking his cup against mine. To self-control, then, and to never letting anyone decide your value again. I lifted my cup, a genuine smile breaking across my face. To self-control, and to knowing my worth. The conversation drifted to lighter topics, laughter echoing across the cafe. I realized I could enjoy simple moments again without fear, without suspicion. Those months of pain had taught me vigilance, but also resilience. I wasn't brittle. I was tempered. Later, as we walked outside, I took a deep breath, feeling the crisp air fill my lungs. I used to fear confrontation, I admitted. Even the idea of facing Emily or Michael again used to paralyze me. Now, I welcome it. Not for revenge, but to know I can stand firm, unshaken. Sarah smiled knowingly. That's the mark of real change. You don't just survive, you thrive. I looked at James, then Sarah, feeling a quiet pride. I'm not the same man who walked into this storm months ago. I'm stronger, smarter, and more aware. But I'm also still human. I can love, trust, and forgive carefully. And I finally know what that feels like. James clapped my shoulder. You've earned this. Don't forget it. I won't, I said, smiling fully now. This is just the beginning. I'm in control, not just of my life, but of my reactions, my future, and my happiness. And that feels better than anything else. As I walked home that evening, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement, I felt an unusual peace. The betrayal, the pain, the manipulations, they had shaped me, but they no longer defined me. I had grown, survived, and transformed. And for the first time in a long time, I felt truly free. I watched from across the room as the news flashed on the TV. Michael's mistakes, his arrogance, and Emily's interference were being aired publicly. The consequences they had ignored for so long were unfolding in real time. I felt a strange mixture of vindication and sorrow. James leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. Looks like the world finally caught up with them. I nodded quietly. It did. And it's fair, but it doesn't feel like celebrating. It feels heavier than I expected. Sarah stepped beside me. Justice doesn't always feel sweet. Sometimes it's just necessary. I exhaled slowly, taking in the reactions of those around us. Friends, family, and colleagues were murmuring, shocked, and judgmental. Emily's face was pale, her lips pressed into a tight line. Michael's arrogance had crumbled. He avoided eye contact with everyone. Emily approached me cautiously. I never wanted it to go this far, she whispered. I looked at her, my expression softening, tempered by empathy. I know, Emily, and I don't hate you. I couldn't let the betrayals go unanswered. You made your choices, and now they have consequences. That's all. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry for everything. For hurting you, for lying, for siding with him. I nodded, voice quiet. I know, and I forgive you in my way. But forgiveness doesn't erase the lessons learned. Michael muttered from the side, barely audible. You think you've won? I shook my head. This isn't about winning, Michael. It's about facing reality. About taking responsibility for your actions. You both failed at trust, and the world has a way of showing the cost. Lucas, standing behind Michael, muttered something under his breath. I ignored him. Their attempts to belittle me held no weight anymore. Clara appeared in the crowd, giving me a small, encouraging smile. You did what you had to do, she said quietly. Yeah, I said almost to myself. I did, but it's strange. Even though justice has been served, I feel reflective. The pain, the betrayal, it doesn't vanish. It becomes part of you, part of the lessons you carry forward. James clapped a hand on my shoulder. You've grown through all of this. Scarred, sure, but stronger. More aware. That's real victory. I smiled faintly, feeling the weight lift slightly. I think I finally understand what it means to be in control. Not just of my life, but of my reactions, my emotions, my choices. I don't need to dominate or punish anyone. Justice came naturally through truth. Sarah nodded. Exactly. That's the mark of someone who's truly transformed. You didn't lose yourself to revenge. You used clarity, patience, and integrity. I took a deep breath, looking at the room, at the faces of those who had witnessed the downfall, and at my friends who had supported me through everything. I'm still human, I admitted quietly. I'll carry the scars, and I'll remember the betrayal, but I won't let it define me anymore. I'm moving forward. Emily's voice broke my reflection. Well, will you ever trust me again? I looked at her, seeing the regret and fear in her eyes. Trust takes time, Emily, and it's earned, not given freely. Right now, I need to focus on myself, my growth, and the people who've stood by me. That's enough for now. Michael muttered something else, but I ignored him. My focus was no longer on him or on anger. It was on the calm, tempered strength I had built, on the life I was reclaiming. Later, as I stepped outside, the evening air felt different. Crisp, yet freeing. The city lights shimmered, and I felt a quiet peace settling in my chest. Triumph, I whispered, almost to myself. Not the kind that makes you gloat, but the kind that reminds you of who you are and what you're capable of. James and Sarah walked beside me. You've earned this peace, Sarah said softly. I nodded. I have, and I'll carry it carefully, not as a shield of anger, but as proof that even after betrayal, manipulation, and heartbreak, you can rise stronger. That's closure. That's life. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt it. Justice without bitterness, closure without hatred, and a hope for tomorrow that was mine alone.